Hello and welcome to Fernbank Science Center's The Sky This Week for February 21st through 27th, 2021. We have a full moon at the end of the week, bright winter stars pretty much up all evening, and a little cluster of stars to look for this week. Start off early in the week, early in the evening. The very brightest stars that we can see all year long are visible during the winter. This week we have a moon and the planet Mars to add along to the fun. One of the most easy to find, even in my light polluted backyard, constellations is Orion the Hunter, up during the winter time. 3 stars in a row mark his belt. 2 stars a little higher on the sky for his shoulders. 2 more stars down here for knees. If you have a really dark sky and really good eyes, you might be able to see a very faint curve of stars in between Orion the Hunter and Taurus the Bull. The 3 stars on his belt are sort of a signpost. Draw a line down toward the horizon and it takes you to Sirius, brightest star that we can see from anywhere on the Earth at night. Sirius is part of Orion's hunting dog, Canis Major. Draw the line in the opposite direction. Take the belt stars of Orion, point them in the opposite direction, and find Aldebaran, the red eye of Taurus the Bull. Here's his head. There's a long horn, another long horn. And a little beyond Taurus, we have 2 pretty things to look for. The planet Mars, bright pinkish star-looking object, which has a new spacecraft landed last week, the Perseverance rover, starting to send back information. And the Pleiades, a little cluster of stars. Look at it a little more closely. Belt of Orion, shoulders, knees. He does have a little tiny head, more brawn than brain. A big shield of stars between Orion the Hunter and Taurus the Bull. And just beyond Taurus, a teeny little dipper of stars, the Pleiades, sometimes called the Seven Sisters. If you can find that spot on the sky, Mars might be helpful, or the face of the bull might be helpful for finding the Pleiades. And if you get a chance to look at them through binoculars, they look like a tiny little dipper, teeny little dipper. The head of Taurus the Bull is that V shape or greater than sign. Sometimes that pattern is called the Hyades. It's another grouping of stars. And the Pleiades is the tiny dipper just over from the Hyades. The Pleiades, sometimes called the Seven Sisters, sometimes called seeds, sometimes a flock of chickens, depending on where you grew up. And the Pleiades, if you look at them through a little telescope, they're very young stars, about 100 million years old, tiny, just starting off baby stars, still wrapped up in their little blankets of gas and dust. And through a pair of binoculars, it really is a pretty sight. If you want to make sure you have the right object that you're looking at, you can use the astronomical measuring tool on the end of your arm. You hold your arm straight out in front of you, lock your elbow straight, make a fist with your hand, and then stick up just your pinky finger. Very carefully move your pinky finger over. You can cover up the Pleiades with just the end of your pinky. It's about half a degree across on the sky, about the same as a full moon, which we'll see on Saturday. Of course, there are stories and stories and stories about the Pleiades. To the Greeks, they were a group of sisters who were being pursued by Orion. They didn't want anything to do with him. The gods put them up in the sky as a little cluster so that they could stay running ahead of him for all time. To the Japanese, the group is called Subaru. It's the name of an automobile manufacturer and of the National Observatory, the big telescope on the big island of Hawaii, where the Japanese observatory is. To the Maori, the people of New Zealand, it marked the start of a new year. When that little cluster of stars was rising before the sun, that was an indication rainy season would start and the new year could begin. Now let's look at the morning sky, early in the morning and facing east. If you know where the sun rises in your observing spot, point your nose toward that direction. And some of the summer stars are just starting to be visible just before the sun comes up. There's the long, curly fishhook shape that is Scorpius, the scorpion. Shoulders, pedipalps, long body, bright red star Antares, and sting on the end of its tail. There are three more stars a little further toward the east that make a huge triangle up there on the early morning sky. Of the three, Vega is the brightest. Deneb is the tail feathers of Cygnus the swan. Altair is part of Aquila the eagle. Draw in some lines, add some labels, and we start seeing all those stars. Cygnus, of the three birds, this one sort of looks like what it's supposed to be. Little stumpy tail, long neck, big wings out on each side. Some of the other birds on the sky need a little more imagination. Let's come in a little bit closer. This area of the sky just before the sun comes up has some interesting things to look at with a little telescope. The star on the end of the swan's neck, Albireo. It looks like one star to your eyes, but if you have a little telescope or access to really, really good binoculars, you might be able to dissolve it or resolve it into the two brighter stars. It's actually a multiple star system. One of the stars is golden color and the other is blue. Really pretty to see through a small telescope. Finally, by Saturday, get up really early in the morning, officially 3:17 a.m. Saturday, February 27th, the moon is at its full phase. It has moved along its orbit, where it's now opposite the sun from Earth, and we can see the entire lit up side of the moon, the full moon. The February full moon, blazing in the wintertime sky, sometimes was called the snow moon. This was the time of year for the indigenous people of this country where most snow fell. And it seems to be holding up with the winter storms we've had over the last week or so. Not a lot of snow here, perhaps in the Atlanta area, but when the snow falls, that bright moon reflects off the snow and it's easy to see around at night in the wintertime. Another name for it was the hunger moon. By this time, the winter food stores were running out. People had eaten most of what they had saved up, and it was hungry time of the year. But it was also a sign that soon spring would be coming and there would be more to eat and more hunting as well. Thanks very much for listening. Please don't forget Fernbank Science Center's website, www.fernbank.edu, and check out our Facebook page. We run a virtual planetarium program on Friday evenings, and you're welcome to share in that. Keep an eye out for the latest science information, and do come and see us as soon as we're open, and may that be soon. Have a great week.